So I want to go back to the Senate side here, because we sort of started this by talking about how there's a pretty evident fracturing on the Republican side in the Senate. And one of the sources of this has been John McCain. John McCain, who was not Mitch McConnell, it was John McCain who sort of cut the deal on the filibuster a few weeks ago. It's John McCain who was the first Republican voice in the Senate to say, no, this idea of, we're going to defund Obamacare with the debt ceiling, whatever. He said that we're not going to do that. So it's John McCain, sort of the old John McCain people knew about a decade ago. I think I know what this comes from. I want to play a back and forth here and then explain. But this, you got to go back a couple months. This is when the Senate, the big Republican lament for years was the Democrats in the Senate wouldn't pass a budget. Well, the Democrats in the Senate passed a budget, and then the House wouldn't file a suit because there was a concern, I should say, among some Senate Republicans that doing this would, if you got into a conference between the Senate and the House, that there'd be caving in and everything. So basically, it set up a fight where the Tea Party purists in the Senate were on one side and John McCain was on the other side. And there's this back and forth between John McCain and Ted Cruz. I'm going to play John McCain first.
We're here to vote. We're not here to block things. We're here to articulate our positions on the issues in the best and possible and most eloquent way we can, and do what we can for the good of the country, and then let the process move forward.
So he was saying that he wanted the Senate to send conferees to meet with the House, and Ted Cruz was saying, no, we can't do that. We can't trust them. And this was Ted Cruz's response.
It has been suggested that those of us who are fighting to defend liberty, fighting to turn around the out-of-control spending and out-of-control debt in this country, fighting to defend the Constitution, it has been suggested that we are wacko birds. Well, if that is the case, I will suggest to my friend from Arizona, there may be more wacko birds in the Senate than is suspected.
My theory of John McCain's politics is that they reflect who he is most aggrieved with at any given moment. And it was he lost to George W. Bush in a bitter 2000 primary in the Republican presidential race, and then suddenly he became every Democrat's favorite Republican, and he wanted the Patience Bill of Rights, and he some gun regulations. John McCain really started voting with Democrats a lot more after 2000. When Obama beat him in 2008, he became, I think we all remember the John McCain of the last few years. Now I think Ted Cruz has really ticked him off, and Ted Cruz's the approach that Ted Cruz has brought to the Senate and the support that Ted Cruz has gotten from others in the Senate has really ticked off John McCain. And I think we're no longer seeing the John McCain who wants revenge on Barack Obama. We're seeing the John McCain who wants revenge on Ted Cruz.
Well, and it's a very interesting battle over creating conference committee, that you do not trust the system to work, that you don't trust the House Republicans. Look, you've got a majority. I mean, McCain said this. You've got a majority over there. They're very conservative. It's not like they're going to immediately cave in the face of a Senate budget being more liberal. Let's let the system work. This is the way it's been done. And Cruz is saying, I don't care how it's been done. We're here to block, not to create. And that's the new mantra. And John McCain still has this notion that, people win elections, you fight it out, and then you fight it out over policy. This notion that all you need to do is block is relatively new, or at least it's new in terms of it being not majority sentiment, but a widely held sentiment in the Congress.
But Michael, my sense is, within the world of Washington, maybe on Capitol Hill, what John McCain maybe is the favorite in this is the McCain versus Cruz battle. But when it comes to the Republican base, the message of Ted Cruz seems to be the resonant one right now, and that seems problematic.
And the test will be, is that message an electable message? In other words, does it translate in the post-2012 dynamics of going into 14 with these congressional seats on the line, the Senate on the line, and the polls that are reflecting still a great deal of ambivalence, if not outright, rejection of the Republicans' messaging and position on some of these issues. So the real battle, and I think you've posited correctly, between a Ted Cruz and a John McCain is really, I think, a clear example of the fracturing within the party of where do we go and how do we get there. To Joan's part, if you can't have a conference bill go to the members of your own party who control the other chamber, That speaks a lot, to me at least, that within the party there's still a whole lot of house cleaning to be done. And the question is, will the John McCain view prevail ultimately going into 14, or will the Ted Cruz view?
And I say again, we talk about John McCain, we talk about Ted Cruz. The name we're not mentioning in this is the official leader of the Senate Republicans, Mitch McConnell. There are some reasons for that. One of them became apparent this week, and we're going to talk about that after this.